It's the question on everyone's lips as the nights draw in and a chill nips the air. Will this winter, the winter of 2025 and 26, be one for the storybooks? Will we be waking up to magical scenes of thick, crisp snow, building snowmen in the garden and digging out the sledge? Or will it be another season of gray skies, endless drizzle, and trudging through puddles? The dream of a white Christmas is a powerful one. Yet, the reality is often a damp and dreary affair. A blend of hope for picturesque snowscapes and a practical desire to know whether to stock up on grit or invest in a new waterproof coat. Every year, the great winter debate begins. You'll hear whispers in the office, chatter in the supermarket queue, bold predictions from your neighbor over the garden fence. Some recall legendary cold spells and being snowed in for days. Others are sure it will be mild and wet, like recent years. But behind the speculation, a huge amount of science is at work. Forecasting a UK winter is one of nature's most complex puzzles. This year, the signals are particularly intriguing. We are looking at a complex global weather pattern with competing forces. To understand the winter forecast, we first need to appreciate why our weather is so notoriously hard to predict. The UK's location is the primary reason for our meteorological drama. We are a relatively small island perched on the edge of a vast continent, Europe, and next to an even vaster ocean, the Atlantic. This unique position means we are constantly caught in a battle between different air masses. From the north, cold, dry Arctic air. From the east, freezing continental air can sweep in from Siberia. From the south, warm, moist air can drift up from the tropics. And most frequently from the west, the Atlantic Ocean sends us mild, damp air. This atmospheric crossroads means our weather is rarely settled for long. A slight change in wind direction can transform our weather in a matter of hours. A sunny, crisp morning can easily turn into a wet and windy afternoon. For a snowy winter to take hold, we need a very specific set of ingredients to come together. We need a persistent flow of cold air, usually from the north or the east, but we also need moisture to form the snow. Often when the cold air arrives, it's very dry. By the time the moisture-laden Atlantic air arrives to provide the snow, it often brings milder temperatures that turn it to rain. This delicate balance is why widespread lasting snow is a relatively rare event for most of the UK. Think of the jet stream, a fast-flowing ribbon of air high up in the atmosphere. This is the main driver of our weather systems. Its path determines whether we experience high pressure or low pressure. Forecasting the weather for an entire season is a bit like putting together a giant complex jigsaw puzzle with half the pieces missing. We can't tell you with certainty if it will rain in Manchester on Christmas morning. Instead, we look for clues in the global climate system to build a picture of the most likely overall weather pattern for the months ahead. This is known as seasonal forecasting. It's a very different beast to the daily forecast you see on the news. We are looking for broad trends. Will the season be colder or milder than average? Will it be wetter or drier? It's about the character of the winter as a whole. Our primary tools are sophisticated computer models. These are not crystal balls but incredibly powerful systems run on some of the world's largest supercomputers. Graphic, globe with data flowing into a supercomputer which then outputs a weather map. They are essentially virtual representations of the Earth's entire climate system, atmosphere, oceans, ice land. We feed these models with a huge amount of current data. Everything from sea surface temperatures in the Pacific Ocean to air pressure over the North Pole. The model then uses the laws of physics to simulate how the climate is likely to evolve over the coming months. It's an incredibly complex process, involving billions of calculations. However, one single model run isn't enough. The atmosphere is a chaotic system, meaning a tiny change can lead to a completely different outcome weeks or months later. So, what are these powerful models and expert meteorologists actually predicting for the UK winter of 2025 and 26? When we look at the main forecasting centers, such as the Met Office here in the UK, the European Centre for Medium-Range Weather Forecasts, and the American models like the CFSV2, a fascinating and somewhat complex picture begins to emerge. It's important to remember that these agencies are not making a simple snowy or mild call. They are providing probabilities and highlighting the most likely dominant weather patterns for the 3-month period of December, January, February. This year, there is a notable theme running through most of the main model outputs. The consensus points towards a winter that is more likely to be influenced by blocking patterns of high pressure, particularly during the first half of the season. A blocking high, especially to the north or northeast of the UK, acts like a giant traffic warden in the sky. It stops the usual flow of mild, westerly winds from the Atlantic, and can force the jet stream to dive south, opening the door for colder air to be drawn down from the Arctic or from Scandinavia. This is a significant signal for a potentially colder than average start to winter. However, some models suggest the Atlantic will fight back more strongly in February, bringing a return to more typical milder, wetter, windier conditions. This creates a forecast of two halves. The first half leans colder and drier, the second half looks more unsettled and closer to average, perhaps slightly milder. The key message is one of enhanced risk. The chance of a significant cold and snowy spell is higher than it has been for several years. Let's break down what this forecast really means in practical terms. When we talk about a colder than average winter, it doesn't mean 3 months of relentless Siberian cold. It simply means that when we average out all the daily temperatures, the final figure is likely to be below the 30-year average. This can be achieved through a series of short, sharp, cold snaps or one longer, more memorable cold spell. The current signals suggest the former is more likely a winter characterized by a battle between colder continental air and milder Atlantic air, leading to notable temperature swings. Think of it as a seesaw, with more time spent on the cold side than the mild side. The increased chance of blocking high pressure to our north or east is crucial here. This is the classic setup for snow in the UK. It allows cold air to flood across the country. Then, if a low-pressure system moves in from the Atlantic and bumps into this cold air, the moisture it contains falls as snow instead of rain. The forecast for more frequent blocking patterns directly translates to a higher than normal probability of experiencing such snowy scenarios, particularly true for eastern and northern parts of the UK, which are most exposed to a cold northeasterly wind or easterly wind. However, we must temper this with a dose of reality. The Atlantic never truly gives up. We'll still see milder, wetter, windier spells. This battleground scenario is a key theme for this winter. So what are the odds? I would place the chance of at least one significant and widespread snowy spell this winter as being around 60 to 70%, which is higher than most recent years. The chance of the winter being persistently and record-breakingly cold for 3 solid months is much lower, perhaps only 15 to 20%. The most likely outcome is a mixed winter that ends up being slightly colder than average overall. To truly understand our winter forecast, we have to look thousands of miles away to the tropical Pacific Ocean. We're talking about the El Niño Southern Oscillation. This year, a developing La Niña is the big story. La Niña can weaken and meander the jet stream, allowing ridges to build and block the usual west-to-east flow. Set up right, it's like opening the freezer door. Cold Arctic air spills south. However, La Niña doesn't guarantee a cold winter. Its influence is probabilistic and depends on other drivers. Analog years like 2010 to 11 support the potential for significant cold, yet no 2 winters are exactly the same, and we must view history through a warmer climate baseline. Background warmth can tip snow to sleet or rain, especially in the south. After sifting through models, the Pacific, and past winters, it's time to bring it all together. The final word, a fascinating, dynamic winter, tilted away from the recent mild and wet pattern toward a more traditional, colder, more challenging first half. More frequent blocking, especially in December and January, increases risks of frost and snow, but the Atlantic will fight back. Later winter likely turns milder, wetter, windier. Be ready, service your boiler, check loft insulation, block drafts. Simple steps save money and keep you warm. For your car, good tread and pressures, antifreeze, screen wash, and keep a de-icer, torch, blanket, shovel, and a small bag of grit in the boot. Think community, stock basics, get your flu jab if eligible, check on vulnerable neighbors, and stay informed with the latest daily forecasts.